Imagine risking your life, your limbs, and, literally the future of an entire kingdom, all to defend a street puppeteer.
Yeah, it sounds completely insane when you put it like that.
Right. But today we are exploring how one massive, seemingly foolish night accidentally changed the history of an entire realm. Welcome to the deep dive.
Glad to be here for this one.
Our mission today is to unpack an incredibly gritty, epic narrative from a set of translated audio transcripts we've been analyzing. We are going to strip away the romanticized myths of chivalry to look at what actually happens when noble ideals crash headfirst into the violent reality of a royal family.
And it really is a remarkable set of sources. Because, well, we often default to this comforting archetype of the knight in shiny armor, right? Where good triumphs and morality is simple.
Like a fairy tale.
Exactly, like a fairy tale. But this narrative explores the exact opposite. It looks at the friction between the absolute lowest rung of a feudal society and the highest, and the collateral damage that occurs when those two worlds collide.
Let's set the stage with our protagonist. His name is Dunk, though he later tries to re-grant himself as Sir Duncan the Tall.
Which is a great PR move.
It really is. But when the sources first introduce him, there is no pageantry at all. He is this massive, impoverished young man standing in the freezing rain, digging a grave for his master, an old man named Sir Arryn of Pennytree.
Yeah, and Sir Arryn was a hedge knight.
Right. And for you listening, if you're unfamiliar with the term, a hedge knight is essentially a wandering freelance warrior. They sleep under hedges because they hold no land, they have no lord, and they basically barely have 2 coins to rub together.
Which really establishes the foundational economic reality of this world. Dunk is standing at a terrifying crossroads. I mean, his master is dead, and his entire inheritance consists of some rusted armor, 3 horses, and a handful of copper coins.
He is literally 1 bad week away from starvation.
Exactly. The text emphasizes a stark contrast here. You have the glamorous idea of knighthood on one side versus the harsh daily grind of simply trying to survive in a feudal system on the other.
So, Dunk makes a pragmatic choice. He takes his master's armor and points his horses toward a massive tourney at a place called Ashford Meadow.
And he isn't riding off to seek glory, right? Or win a hand of a maiden.
No, not at all. He is going because tourneys have a very specific economic loophole. If you defeat an opponent, you win their armor and their horse.
Which is huge.
Huge.
Right.
Because you can then ransom those back to the loser for hard cash. So Dunk is participating purely to finance his next meal.
It's an economic survival strategy, but it requires him to navigate a world that actively despises people of his social standing.
Yeah, they hate him.
They really do. And before he even reaches the tourney, his trajectory shifts. He stops at a roadside inn and meets this cheeky, bald little boy who goes by the nickname Egg.
This kid is relentless. He practically begs to be Dunk's squire, and Dunk is what, practically a teenager himself?
Basically, yeah.
So he's completely overwhelmed by his new responsibilities, and his first instinct is to just threaten to slap the kid to make him go away.
Which is a reaction that immediately undercuts that traditional, noble image of a knight.
Totally.
But Dunk is desperate. When Egg proves he actually knows how to tend horses in clean gear, Dunk reluctantly accepts him. And that decision proves crucial. Because the moment Dunk arrives at the Ashford Meadow tourney, he hits an insurmountable wall of feudal classism.
Yeah, he tries to register to fight, and the organizers look at him like he's a peasant who stole a dead man's armor.
Which, frankly, isn't that far from the truth.
Fair point. They tell him he needs someone of high birth to formally vouch that he is a legitimate knight.
The underlying mechanism here is gatekeeping. The system is intentionally designed to keep people like Dunk out.
Right.
A tourney is not a meritocracy. It is a display of elite power, wealth, and genetic superiority. If an unwashed nobody could just walk onto the field and unhorse a highborn lord, well, it would threaten the entire narrative of noble supremacy that holds their social hierarchy together.
For you listening, think about the audacity of what Dunk is trying to do here. Imagine trying to enter an elite, invitation-only sporting event.
Like the Masters.
Yes, like the Masters in golf or Wimbledon. You show up with hand-me-down clubs you found in a dusty garage, your clothes are ragged, you are completely bluffing your resume to the organizers, and the only way they'll let you on the grass is if you miraculously get the tournament's top sponsor to personally vouch for you based on a passing memory from 16 years ago.
That is the precise situation Dunk finds himself in. It's wild.
It is. He spends days desperately trying to find a single lord who remembers his deceased master.
And the breakthrough comes from the absolute top of the social pyramid. Prince Baelor Targaryen.
The crown prince himself.
Right, the heir to the Iron Throne.
Baelor actually remembers Sir Arryn, which is crazy.
He does. Baelor recalls a tourney 16 years prior where Sir Arryn unhorsed a legendary fighter named Daemon Lannister known as the Grey Lion.
Wow.
Yeah, Baelor is uniquely observant and honorable among the royal family. So on the strength of that single distant memory, the Crown Prince vouches for this homeless giant.
So Dunk finally gets his foot in the door of this elite club. He even scrapes together his last few pennies to hire a local puppeteer, a tall, striking girl named Tansel, to paint a new sigil on his shield.
Right, the shooting star.
Yeah, she paints a shooting star above an elm tree. It's this pivotal moment where Dunk is carving out his own knightly identity. But the irony is, the moment he defines what that identity means, he is immediately forced to test it against the very people who run the club.
And the collision occurs over Tansel's puppet show. Her troupe is performing for the tourney crowds, and one of their wooden puppets depicts a dead dragon.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. In this realm, the ruling royal family, the Targaryens, use the dragon as their official house sigil.
Enter Prince Arryn Brightflame. Arryn is one of the younger royals, and he views himself as a literal dragon in human form.
He's incredibly unstable.
Completely unhinged. When he sees this puppet show, he doesn't see a harmless street performance. He perceives it as an act of treason against his royal bloodline. So he storms into the crowd and brutally attacks Tansel, breaking her fingers and essentially destroying her livelihood.
And Dunk witnesses this violence from the edge of the crowd.
Right.
He intervenes, completely bypassing any sort of verbal de-escalation, and brutally beats the prince. He kicks Arryn in the face, knocking his teeth out, solely to protect this innocent puppeteer.
But by doing so, Dunk commits the ultimate unforgivable crime in a feudal society. He strikes royal blood. The prescribed punishment is the amputation of a hand and a foot or immediate execution.
It's a death sentence, basically.
But wait, I have to stop and push back on Dunk's underlying motivation here. We are painting Dunk as this, paragon of protective virtue, but look at his reality.
Okay, what do you mean?
He is a hormonal teenager who just scraped his way into a life-changing economic opportunity. He hired Tansel to paint his shield, and the text makes it pretty clear he is heavily infatuated with her. Are we really looking at pure, unselfish chivalry in that moment? Or is this just a young guy blindly playing the hero for a girl he has a crush on, completely blinding himself to the suicidal consequences of punching a prince?
That's a necessary skepticism to apply to the text for sure. The sources definitely acknowledge his youth and his attraction to Tansel. However, reducing his action to mere impulse ignores the profound socialization he received from his master.
How so?
Well, Sir Arryn hammered a very specific set of vows into Dunk. A true knight protects the weak and defends the innocent.
But even so, acting on those vows by assaulting the ruling family borders on extreme foolishness. I mean, he barely knows what it means to be a knight.
It is foolish by the standards of a corrupt, self-preserving society, absolutely. But that is the core thematic tension here.
Right.
Prince Arryn represents the absolute corruption of unchecked power. He shatters a girl's hand simply because he can. Dunk, in that fraction of a second, represents the idealized version of power used solely for protection.
He didn't think about the politics at all.
Exactly. He didn't weigh the political ramifications or calculate his own survival. His internalized morality overrode his self-preservation.
And that lack of self-preservation nearly gets him killed on the spot. The royal guards swarm Dunk, weapons drawn. He is seconds away from being butchered in the dirt until his bald little squire, Egg, throws himself in front of the swords and screams at the guards to stop.
And here the transcripts deliver an explosive reveal.
Oh man, this part is so good.
Egg isn't a peasant kid. He is Prince Aegon Targaryen. He is Prince Arryn's younger brother.
The structural irony of their entire relationship suddenly comes into focus here. Dunk has been bossing around, scolding, and threatening to slap a prince of the blood.
Yeah, it's incredible. Egg reveals he shaved his head to hide his signature silver gold Targaryen hair because he was trying to escape his older brother Darren, who is a cowardly drunk.
He just wanted to be normal.
Right. Egg desperately wanted to squire for a true working knight rather than be pampered in a castle.
So Egg's intervention halts the immediate execution, but you cannot simply unpunch a royal prince.
No, you definitely cannot.
Striking royal blood demands a royal reckoning. And this drops Dunk into an incredibly lethal, archaic legal loophole.
Right. Humiliated and bleeding, Prince Arryn refuses a standard trial by Lord. Instead, he demands a trial by 7.
which sounds terrifying.
It is.
Yeah.
To understand why this matters, we have to look at the cultural mechanics of this world. The trial by seven is an ancient tradition derived from the Andal culture. They were the foundational ethno-religious group that brought the faith of the seven to the realm.
Let's unpack the mechanics of that. Why 7 specifically, and why is it so dangerous for Dunk?
Well, in the faith of the seven, the number itself is sacred. It represents the seven faces of their god. The belief is that if 7 warriors fight 7 warriors, the outcome is no longer a matter of martial skill. It is a direct, infallible judgment from the gods.
Wow.
And this tradition has been unseen for centuries. Arryn doesn't invoke it out of piety, though. He weaponizes it.
Because a normal trial by combat would be risky for him.
Precisely. He knows a standard trial by combat might force him to fight a seasoned champion one-on-one. By demanding a trial by 7, he leverages the vast resources of the royal family.
For those of you listening right now, the idea of a 14-man brawl to the death to settle an assault charge sounds like absolute madness. But in this legal system, it is considered the ultimate undeniable truth, and the math of it is designed to completely crush someone like Dunk.
Exactly. The stipulation is absolute. If the accused cannot find 6 knights to stand with him, he is considered guilty by default and forfeits his life.
Talk about an impossible task.
It's rigged. The feudal system is engineered to ensure a penniless hedge knight could never convince 6 noblemen to risk their lives against the ruling family. It is a calculated legal strangulation.
So Dunk has to scour the tourney grounds for anyone willing to die for a complete stranger. He manages to gather this ragtag group of outcasts and underdogs. He recruits Sir Robin Riesling, a knight missing an eye.
A great fighter, though.
Right, and he gets a massive, boisterous lord named Lionel Baratheon, known as the Laughing Storm, who seemingly just wants the thrill of a chaotic battle. But navigating the system also exposes Dunk to severe betrayal.
Yeah, the betrayal comes from a knight named Steffon Fossaway. Steffon promises to fight for Dunk, presenting himself as a man of honor. But just before the trial, Prince Arryn secretly approaches Steffon and promises him a lucrative lordship if he switches sides.
And he takes it.
Steffon instantly abandons Dunk.
It just shows how easily honor is bought and sold among the elite in this world.
It does, but it also creates space for the narrative to highlight unexpected moral courage. Steffon's betrayal so disgusts his own cousin, Raymond Fossaway, that Raymond demands to be knighted on the spot so he can take his traitorous cousin's place on Dunk's side of the field.
That's amazing. But even with Raymond, Dunk only has 6 men. The royal family lines up their 7 champions across the field. Dunk is 1 man short, literally moments away from a default execution.
And then comes the ultimate shocker of the entire narrative.
Give it to us.
The 7th man rides out to join Dunk's side. And it is Prince Baelor, the crown prince.
Oh, man. The significance of this decision cannot be overstated. Baelor looks at the situation, recognizes the sadistic cruelty of his nephew Arryn, and acknowledges the fundamental righteousness of Dunk's actions.
Yeah.
To uphold justice, Baelor chooses to arm himself and fight against his own family. He lines up on the battlefield directly across from his own brother, Mackerr, and his nephews.
It's a staggering moment.
What does that say about the fragility of this realm's political structure? The crown prince feels compelled to risk his life, taking up real weapons against his own brother just to ensure a homeless man gets a fair trial.
It reveals a massive, dangerous rot beneath the glamorous surface of the dynasty. You see, the Targaryen family no longer has the dragons that originally secured their conquest.
Right, they're gone.
Exactly. Their power now relies heavily on projecting an illusion of absolute unity and invincibility to the lesser lords. Baelor stepping onto that field publicly shatters that illusion.
He's showing the cracks.
He demonstrates to the entire realm that the royal courts are compromised, the laws are hollow, and the only way a good man can enforce justice is through extreme personal violence. Baelor's trying to save the moral soul of his family, but the political risk to the realm is astronomical.
And that risk cashes out in the most devastating way possible. When the trial actually begins, all that romanticized pageantry we talked about at the beginning, it evaporates into blood and mud.
It gets really dark.
Yeah. This is not a polite joust with blunted lances. This is heavy armor, war maces, broadswords, and frantic, desperate survival.
The sensory details provided in the transcripts are incredibly visceral here. The combat is chaotic and deeply unchivalrous.
Dunk finds himself fighting Prince Arryn directly. Dunk's equipment is inferior, his formal training is incomplete, but he possesses something the pampered prince does not.
Raw street fighting instincts forged in the slums.
Exactly. When traditional swordplay fails, Dunk uses his massive size to tackle Arryn into the dirt. He uses sheer physical dominance to pummel the prince until Arryn's arrogance breaks, forcing him to yield and officially withdraw his accusation.
So Dunk secures the victory. He survives, and ostensibly the gods have validated his innocence.
But the victory turns to ashes almost immediately. The fighting stops, the combatants separate, and Prince Baelor, the man who risked everything to save Dunk, removes his helmet.
And the sources describe a horrific reveal here.
Yeah, it's brutal. During the absolute chaos of the melee, Baelor suffered a catastrophic head wound. He was struck by a mace wielded by his own brother, Mackerr. Baelor collapses and dies on the tourney field.
It is a profound tragedy that anchors the entire narrative.
Yeah.
To provide the specific historical context from the sources, Baelor had the potential to be the greatest king since Aegon the Conqueror. He was wise, just, and loved by the people.
And he dies in the mud, wearing Dunk's spare, dented armor.
It proves the central cynical thesis of this feudal world. Doing the right thing rarely results in a clean, happy ending. It often extracts a horrific, disproportionate cost.
Dunk saved one innocent puppeteer, and in doing so, he cost the realm its perfect prince. The aftermath leaves a kingdom destabilized, a grief-stricken Prince Mackerr consumed by the guilt of killing his brother, and Dunk trying to process what comes next. Because through all of this, the youngest royal, Egg, is still standing by his side.
Which brings us to the aftermath, and what serves as the true education of a prince. Prince Mackerr, seeking some form of atonement, summons Dunk.
Right.
He offers Dunk a highly coveted permanent position at his castle, Summerhall. He wants Dunk to serve as a master-at-arms, to formally train young Egg in a safe, privileged, controlled environment.
Consider the magnitude of that offer for Dunk. This is a guy who was starving in the freezing rain at the start of our story, desperate for any lord to sponsor him, and he flatly turns the prince down.
It is his most brilliant, insightful moment in the entire narrative. Dunk argues a very specific point to Mackerr. He says, older sons like Arryn and Darren were raised in those exact castles. They ate off silver plates, they were surrounded by tutors and guards, and look at the result.
The castle environment created a monster who breaks girls' fingers and a coward who drinks himself to sleep.
Precisely.
So Dunk looks at a grieving royal and counters with a radical proposal. He says he will take Egg as his squire, but they will not set foot in a castle. They're going to live on the road as hedge knights.
It's brilliant.
He tells Mackerr that the young prince is going to sleep under trees, chew on hardtack, wear rough-spun clothes, and endure the actual daily struggles of the small folk. And Mackerr, broken by the consequences of his family's entitlement, reluctantly agrees.
It is a phenomenal pedagogical shift. Dunk rejects the sheltered comfort of the elite in favor of the harsh reality of the real world. He recognizes that true nobility, the kind Baelor possessed, cannot be taught by a tutor in a velvet-lined room. It has to be learned through hardship.
Think of it like a billionaire parent pulling their child out of the most elite, pampered boarding school in the world, confiscating their credit cards, and sending them on a bare-bones backpacking trip with a blue-collar mentor.
That's a great comparison.
The goal isn't punishment. It's to ensure the child learns how the world actually functions, how much a loaf of bread costs, and what it feels like to be cold and hungry.
The dynamic of this new partnership is perfectly encapsulated at the very end of the transcripts. As they head south toward Dorne, they discuss the realm. Dunk mentions the Seven Kingdoms, and Egg, the little prince, promptly corrects Dunk's geography, pointing out that there are actually 9 distinct regions.
So it proves Egg already possesses the formal book learning.
Exactly. Dunk provides the muscle, the street smarts, and the moral compass, while Egg provides the academic education and the hidden royal authority.
When we distill all these sources down, Dunk and Egg's story proves that true nobility has absolutely nothing to do with bloodlines, family names, or castle walls. It is entirely about the choices you make in the dirt, especially when making the right choice could cost you everything.
It really challenges us to reevaluate our definitions of leadership. Dunk was the poorest, least educated man at that tournament, yet he was the only one who truly understood what the knightly vows meant.
I want to leave you with a final, provocative thought to chew on as you go about your day. Think about the massive historical domino effect we just uncovered.
Yeah.
If Dunk had simply looked the other way when that puppeteer was being attacked, if he had kept his head down and minded his own business like a smart peasant, Prince Baelor would have lived. He would have ascended the throne and likely been a legendary, peaceful king.
He would have.
By intervening and doing the right thing, Dunk caused a realm-shaking tragedy. But he also took a spoiled, sheltered royal kid out of the castle and put him on the road to learn how the poorest, most vulnerable citizens actually live. So ask yourself, does history actually need its perfect, comfortable leaders? Or does it ultimately need leaders who have slept in the mud, who have starved, and who have truly felt the struggles of the people they are meant to rule? We started by talking about that comforting image of the knight in shining armor. But maybe the only armor that actually protects a realm is the armor that's covered in rust and dirt.